New data came out today from KFF, and that is not Kentucky Fried French fries.
That was how Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer cracking a joke as he was doing a press conference. So Schumer was making a painfully unfunny joke during this press conference about the government shutdown. And it got even worse from what you just saw, especially when Schumer looked to Amy Klobuchar for some validation.
How could it get worse?
New data came out today from KFF, and that is not Kentucky Fried French fries. KFF could be Kentucky French fries.
Kaiser Family Foundation.
I know. Orange. Excuse me.
Please retire. Just please retire and make room for people who are serious about representing the people. So look, as we all know, there's currently a government shutdown. The polls indicate that the majority of the American public are blaming the Republicans for the government shutdown. Democrats are, in the Senate specifically, are essentially unwilling to play ball with Republicans to fund the government unless there's an extension of subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Without those subsidies, this is insane. Without those subsidies, Americans earning $85,000 a year. So these aren't like low income earners. We're talking about like middle class Americans. Their premiums would double to over $25,000 a year. Who can afford that? No one can afford that. So look, this is actually a very serious issue and it's a serious crisis. Republicans have no interest in helping ordinary Americans pay their premiums for health insurance. Here you have Democrats at least pretending to do so. And I say pretending to do so because I honestly think when it comes to Chuck Schumer in particular, he's worried about a primary challenge from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's certainly looking to run in higher office. But I am curious what you think, Cenk, because I do think what the Democrats are doing in basically holding the government funding bill as leverage in order to get a really important concession from Republicans to help Americans pay for their health insurance. It's a good cause. I agree with the cause. But then you look at the way they conduct themselves, and I'm worried that they're not going to succeed. But maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to talk about the joke because that was quality material by Chucky, right? Kentucky Fried Falafel. Anyone? But my favorite was Amy Klobuchar hanging her head in shame. As he continues to go on and on, you'll see it in a second where she's like, no, please stop. And she just can't look up. Okay, she's like, oh, please move on to Kaiser Family Foundation, please. And then he keeps going, and now watch her head. In shame. You remember Gretchen Whitmer in the White House covering herself with a folder while they were taking the picture? You remember Cory Booker? I think it was when Netanyahu hiding behind the other senators, right? I mean, that's what the Democratic Party has become, this. Hey, so Chuck, I'd leave the comedy to others, please. I'm begging you. Okay, now to the core of it. Hey, look, there's no Democrats fighting for a good thing. Happy to have it, and they do care about Obamacare. Like that's the one thing they've ever done in my lifetime. So they're like, Obamacare. We didn't do anything else, nothing else, but Obamacare. So they might actually fight for it, and then it depends on how the American people are feeling, the et cetera. And they're on the side of the American people on this one. So both in terms of policy, you're right, nobody can afford that, especially under these circumstances. How are you going to have $25,000 for coverage? Then you could buy other kinds of coverage. It makes no sense at all, right? And so I hope that their messaging gets better because it's disastrous now, but that's something they could win on. I mean, you let me run with that message and I'd pound that home until they surrendered. I don't know that they've got that in them. And Democrats normally.
Does it look like they've got that in them, Cenk? They're like approximately 150 years old. Okay, no, look, you're right. It is a worthy cause, and that's what I said as well. I totally agree with it. I do have to just quickly make a point about the fact that, yes, the Democrats, the one thing they have fought for is protecting the Affordable Care Act. So much so that they have pounded and defeated any other healthcare solution that would be far better. And this is the problem. This is the main issue with the Affordable Care Act. You have to buy private insurance and there are no cost controls. So as a result of this flawed healthcare reform that was passed under the Obama administration, the government has no choice but to subsidize the premiums of Americans who have no choice but to buy from private insurers who have a profit motive, and there's no public option in sight. So let's just keep it real about the actual situation right now. You have Democrats fighting tooth and nail through this whole government funding thing in order to continue putting a Band-Aid on a broken healthcare system.
Yeah, overall that's true, but I hope they win on this one. Of course, the problem is in these type of showdowns, the Democratic playbook is not whether we surrender, but when we surrender. So they probably get their caucus together every day. Today, should we surrender today? No, we're waiting one more day. Interesting. But if they don't surrender and they win on this, then I'll say, attaboy, way to protect the American people. Because yes, there's much better options, but realistically, neither Democrats or Republicans are gonna do that because they're like 89% controlled by the donors. I say I've gone low there. You see that? Not above 90. And partly because the donors probably don't want this one either, but Democrats are putting up a little bit of a fight. And I'm gonna feel, slightly hopeful today and say, at least they picked a right topic and at least they're fighting for the moment being. I guess I'll take the win.
Okay, that's fair, that's fair.
Let's talk about something that drives every business owner absolutely crazy, trying to hire the right people. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You post a job and you flood it with resumes, but most of them don't have the right skills or experience. It's a huge hassle, honestly, but not with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you and they do it fast. And now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/TYT. Now here's why it works. The moment you post your job, their smart matching technology gets to work. It's not just sitting there waiting for people to find it and apply. It's actively searching and identifying top qualified talent that fits your role. It sends them your way and then it does the hard part of the hiring for you. But don't worry, you're still in full control. If you find a candidate you like, ZipRecruiter allows you to send a personalized invite to apply message. It eliminates the waiting game and gets the right people to engage with your job posting sooner rather than later. So ditch the other hiring sites and let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for, the needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at the exclusive web address ziprecruiter.com/TYT. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/TYT. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Now let's go back to making fun of cringy Democrats, because Schumer making a bad joke is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Democrats' sad attempts at being relatable or show that they're fighting back against Republicans. So Hakeem Jeffries, another favorite, did a live stream about the government shutdown on his YouTube channel, featuring a rotating cast of Democratic House members and influencers. At times, it only had a few dozen people watching. Adam Wren from Politico watched 14 hours of it and said the stream featured the feel of a throwback telethon with none of the charisma or surprise, which you should expect from Hakeem Jeffries. So on the stream, Jeffries tried to convey that he and other Democrats are fighting back hard against Trump and Mike Johnson, but as usual, it kind of fell flat. At one point he said, "Y'all, I ain't scared. I'm from Brooklyn. We get down like Shirley Chisholm, unbought and unbossed at all times." Nice.
Okay, first of all, y'all. Is he from the Bronx or is he from Tennessee? What's y'all? And second of all, take Shirley Chisholm's name out of your mouth, okay?
Seriously, seriously.
Shirley Chisholm was an American hero who was actually unbought and unbossed. Hakeem Jeffries is the exact opposite of that. Shirley Chisholm would have relished the fight against Hakeem Jeffries.
I mean, after the 2024 presidential election and the shellacking Democrats suffered, He went to raise money from Silicon Valley CEOs and these tech billionaires. Really, you're going to talk about how you're unbought? Get out of here. And look, then he invokes a Jay-Z lyric dating back to 2003. Quote, "So Mr. President, allow me to introduce myself. I'm the House Democratic leader." And remember, yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. And then remember back in July, he posted this on Instagram with like this dead look on his face. Like, what is going on? The caption read, "House Democrats will keep the pressure on Trump's one big ugly bill." Did you though? Did you?
Passed easily, super easily.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's like, "Let me reintroduce myself. I'm the House Democratic leader." Trump's response, "And?" Okay, but what are you gonna do about it? Like, are you gonna sit there and bleed all day? Or are you gonna do something? And then he brings the bat. Oh, the bat's my favorite. What are you gonna do with the bat, Hakeem? What are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna hit somebody with it?
It looks like he's gonna fall asleep. Let's take a look at that photo again. Look at him. Look at that sleepy looking face. He looks so bored with what he's doing.
Yeah. Brother, you'd be lucky to play wiffle ball, let alone hardball. Okay, come on, I got a bat. What are you gonna do with it? So, total fake tough guys. I love how Charlemagne devastated him with the nickname Apex Shakur. Okay, you like rap? Okay, I don't know if you like that one. And then he tried to fight back with the worst nickname of all. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's Charlatan the fraud." Embarrassing, dude, embarrassing.
Yeah. Jeffries also wrote a letter to House Speaker Mike Johnson challenging him to a debate on the House floor. Johnson rejected and then characterized Jeffries as desperate. Look, I feel bad because obviously the Republican Party, especially with sending federalized guardsmen to blue cities, is up to no good. So it feels kind of gross making fun of the Democrats, but how could you not? How could you not? Because this is the opposition party. These are the people who are supposed to be effectively fighting back against the Trump administration and their bad acts. But it just seems like they don't really have much of a plan, with the exception to what you were saying, Cenk, with the exception of what's currently going down in the Senate and this effort to get the extension for the Affordable Care Act subsidies. I think that might be the one and only example of the Democratic Party fighting back in a way that makes sense. I just think what's really interesting about the optics of it is that while what they're doing is a worthy cause, how about you like make room for younger Democrats to do these press conferences? So you don't have like this like crusty, Senate minority leader looking for validation from Amy Klobuchar after he makes a super dorky dweeby joke. Like, it's just, we need enthusiastic, young, articulate people like making their messages loud and clear. And that's just not what we're getting because these, members of Democratic leadership refuse to make way for younger voices.
So first of all, on him offering the debate, I don't mind that one. I know a lot of people are making fun of him for it, but I don't agree. Fairest show in America. No, I think that's a good move. If I was him, I'd want to debate Mike Johnson, and then I would demand to go all over television and every podcast and say, well, if the brother's not going to show up, I'll make the case. What are they piling on the American people for? They need health care. They're ripping away people's health care to give more tax breaks to Elon Musk, etc. Come on, get some, right? But then you got to actually show up and you got to have that strength and you got to prove your case. But I like that he offered the debate. So, but Anna, to your point, it's not like they don't have a young, dynamic congressman who has all these great ideas that are very popular with the American people. His name is Ro Khanna. And I'm not just saying that, guys. He did the Epstein Files press conference, got enormous attention, right? And put pressure on the Republicans. They're reeling and they don't know what to do. They're not letting someone who won a seat in Arizona take their seat because otherwise Ro Khanna's gotten enough Republican votes to expose the Epstein Files, right? So he's taking action. You could put him up front. Another thing that he did, among many, he's sending around a letter to recognize Palestine. That's 92% of Democratic voters want that. So he's representing the overwhelming majority of the Democratic voters. Put him up in a press conference, let him fight, right? But why don't they do that? because Hakeem Jeffries takes that bat and sits on it when the donors come in and go, shut up and shut Ro Khanna up. You're for Israel. And Apex Shakur's like, did you give me $2 million? Can you give me $2 million more? By the way, they have given him $2 million. So he doesn't let Ro Khanna do that. Instead, he sits down and defies 90% of his own voters and then looks super weak. And that's why we're not complaining about Democratic policy. We're complaining about Democratic leadership because they never do Democratic policies. Step aside, Butch, and let us fight.